Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that's barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, let me cover the elephant in the room here. This is a new microphone, okay? I will have I think hopefully a small little bit of text that will say, this is a new microphone. Let me know what you think, because I'm not 100% sure on it. Especially in the way that I'm using it, the way that I'm processing it afterwards for the video, the way that I'm holding it, right, the distance from a microphone, all that jazz. I'm completely unsure about it. However, this is the microphone. Let me know what you think. If I should keep using it, if you enjoy it, if you prefer it to the previous one, and that way I can make do from there. But for this episode, we're gonna use it to our advantage. So here we have got ourselves the first episode coming back from the break, which I took for the Christmas days. I'm not 100% out of the break. These videos are still planned to be shorter than usual, and also I expect to be taking, probably on the 31st and the 1st, another set of a break here, as of course New Year's incoming. So we're not 100% out of break. We're not in a loop yet, right? We're still very much so in holiday season. There's just that weird week where like you have time but also not, right? So in general, we will be making do for these days with hopefully a little bit where we're going to be catching up. The main thing that we're going to be catching up is going to be the Christmasly object show. I'm sure there are multiple, however, we're going to be taking a look at the main one, which had a pretty big release yesterday. The Christmasly object show was started about 4 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago, by YellowAngiru, which is a creator that, you know, has made many popular shows, which we've taken a look at. None of them so far, because none of them have released an episode. So the first coverage of YellowAngiru content that I will ever watch is going to be the Christmasly object show. I'm sure it's not going to be perfectly representative of the content, but for the meanwhile that of course other things are incoming, we can keep it moving. So we'll watch those, and then we'll just see what new episodes prop up around here, there, and everywhere from the other channels, because I know that a lot of them had releases. I've been told about them. I also know them because I have my subscriptions on, and all of that jazz. But first, we just have to take a look at the Christmas Object Show. There's been discussion around it. I've even seen it on Twitter and stuff. So we're going to start off here with episode 1 of the Christmasly Object Show, which is titled Feed the World. All of these episodes are relatively short, but hey, we take a look at them. 119,000 views 4 years ago. Feed the World. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 1 of the Christmasly Object Show, Feed the World. So as it goes with these quick object shows, there's not too much to actually cover in the episode. We mainly just need to take a look ourselves at the cast. So our cast is Present, a very good asset, by the way, for this present character. Ornament, just like every Christmasly object show, I swear, all of them have had an ornament character that I've ever seen. Candy cane, which is the candy cane sideways, interestingly enough, which is different than what I'd expect, that they look like an arrow. Christmas tree, which is also interesting because they're not actually decorated like a Christmas tree, which theoretically just makes them a tree. I wonder if this would be something that they're going to cover in the future, because, you know, what makes this tree the Christmas tree if there's nothing on it, right? Like, it's kind of interesting. And then there's the Easter egg, which manages to somehow sneak in despite everything. So alright then, Easter. And then we have ourselves the challenge, which is apparently to eat the cookies as quickly as possible. However, you know, when you see milk and cookies there, the instinct is to just immediately eat them. As you know, I mean, at the end of the day, that is the tradition, right? You leave the cookies out there, so Santa immediately sees them and goes, no. So the gingerbread, which is our host, by the way, gingerbread man, which is just they don't actually move their gingerbread limbs. They're just a gingerbread the shapeshift. No, they don't shapeshift. They just like disform themselves depending on what's going on. So candy cane and a Christmas tree eat it too early, and that means that they go up for elimination for having disrespected the host. Actually, no, they don't go. They go up to the naughty list, all right, and then everybody else is up for they go to the naughty list and they're up for elimination. I guess everybody else is on the nice list for the episode, which is a creative way to do it. All right. It's time for episode 2 now. Let's play it quickly. The episode 2 of the Christmasly Object Show is titled None Other Than a Silent Night. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 2 of the Christmasly Object Show, and there's kind of an interesting thing going on here, is that even though, right, of course we're playing on joke show terminology, and we are playing on very quick times, you can still, I think, feel a lot of the quality of a higher quality show, right? And the things that higher quality shows do just naturally, right? Like, the way that this show just simply manages to pace out its jokes within a quick time frame, it's that type of thing where it's just kind of skill, right? It's just kind of a skill-based thing. You can see it in the way that it kind of gets portrayed with the gags. They're very timely, they're very efficient, while keeping just enough time for the gags to stay funny, but also playing it out so that the show goes on quickly and keeping enough silence time to make a scene awkward, but never enough to make it drag, right? Like, this is the type of thing where it's like you can still feel it, even though there's so little time per episode. It actually ends up solid. Anyways, Candy Cane is safe with 1,272 votes, even though they wanted 1,273, and they get a bike for being safe. Good job. That means that Christmas Tree gets eliminated and put on the naughty list. Interesting thing, being put on the naughty list is kind of an interesting punishment, because if you think about it, that means that theoretically, we are making more, like, from the start of the show to the end of the show, the world has gotten worse, right? Because more total people will have been on the naughty list, which means that at the end of the day, we're going to have it where, like, I mean, I don't know how many people are out there in the lands other than these fellas. However, like, that means that overall a very wide majority of the contestants in the season, and possibly even the people around in the world there, will be in the naughty list, which could make them, you know, evil. I'm not sure being on the naughty list necessarily turns you more evil. I mean, we saw what happened to Christmas Tree. I mean, they got TP'd away, but then eventually they started, you know, they were doing a rambling monologue, right? So the Christmas Tree ends up getting out, and then we have our challenge, which, what was the challenge? Is the first to put a candy cane in a stocking without waking me up wins. Nobody manages to do that. Literally no one manages to do that. Only one person even dares to try, which is Present. However, makes too much noise, so they're up for elimination. Easter Egg is just dead from the beginning because they got crushed by the Christmas Tree when they got teleported for the voting, which means that they're up for elimination. Ornament is originally up for elimination as well by crashing their bike into Gingerbread until they eventually get swapped out for Candy Cane because Candy Cane annoyed the host, which is, of course, illegal, and nobody can even dare to do that. So, yeah, 3 people are for the naughty list. My prediction is that from what I've seen from stuff like the freaking, fuck's it called? Halloweenly Object Show, is that people don't actually seem to like that much the novelty of having a wrong season character. So my presumption is just that Easter Egg is going to get eliminated. They also don't barely do anything in the episode. So I'm gonna see. Well, let's see. It is a vote to save, so maybe they're gonna survive, but I think Candy Cane and Present should chill out, because they both got very unfairly done. So yeah, no, surely Easter Egg goes, but I guess, nah, maybe not. Whatever. I'll say Easter Egg. Episode 3, they're getting longer. Mistletoe and Holly. Oh no. I hear Mistletoe. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 3 of the Christmasly Object Show, and we have had ourselves another year pass. However, interestingly enough, I am going to point out that the actual quality bump from year to year, it really doesn't feel like it's changed that astronomically. I think there has been a decent chunk of effort placed into actually trying to keep it consistent, to keep it varied year to year, because this is one of the bigger issues that you can encounter when making this type of show on a time schedule, or at least a longer time schedule, is that, what if you just get better, but you have to continue the show year by year? If you show how much better you've gotten, that's actually a problem, because it'll be weird if the show randomly changes a lot, right? Like, this is something that I've seen a lot of this other type of show do, and it ends up being complicated, because, why are we randomly changing the assets here? There's no actual explanation, just, we got better outside of it, right? So, yeah, we have ourselves the elimination, which gets interrupted quite a few times by coughing. Everybody thinks that the coughing is ornament, but apparently it's actually just Easter egg, which has allergies. And they're getting eliminated with 748 votes to save. Surprisingly close to present, I must admit. Yeah, I thought they were gonna just get absolutely wiped out of the park. I mean, I guess in a vote to eliminate, I think they do, but in a vote to save, they can technically live on by just simply the act of novelty, right? That's a novelty. It's not Easter, right? But like, no, in this case, they end up actually getting eliminated by the majority opinion. I haven't talked about the intro yet. It's pretty funny. It's just like a Merry Christmas video, but like we've just replaced the text, and we've just put text over the text saying the Christmasly object instead of Merry Christmas, right? The challenge ends up to apparently be to kiss gingerbread under the mistletoe, which they put up there with a fishing rod. Literally nobody does that yet again. Honestly, the amount of contestants that have not done a challenge in this show is significantly higher than the amount of contestants that have tried to do a challenge in this object show, because in the last episode only one person tried. In this episode nobody even dares, which means that it's actually like about like nobody does the challenges in this object show. It's great. Then the gingerbread comes over and runs off, and Candy Cane comes in. Yo, sir, I'm sorry, but like you're just ugly as shit. Okay, that was good. That actually got me. Words can say that it was predictable, but honestly the amount of times that does just actually happen, and like there isn't a switch up at this point, does actually make the switch up quite funny. I was not expecting it. This show pops in with some pretty solid humor. I'm not gonna lie, this show really does. It plays itself by so fast. It knows what it is, but it manages to just go like, yo, we have only got about like 4 scenes to work with, so we need to make sure that those 4 scenes are punchy and they hit and they are funny, right? And you know what? They managed to be funny, punchy, and good. I see why people enjoyed this specific Christmas object show, because it's not trying to be too much. It's just trying to be a quick thing. I don't know when. I mean, like, you technically have a whole year to make an episode, but at the end of the day, you'd probably just start around like the December window to start making every episode, right? So then it's like, yeah, it's cool. But yeah, everybody is up for elimination. Who's actually getting eliminated? I don't really know. My presumption is Present, because Present didn't get very close the other time, and Ornament has the whole thing with them not speaking, right? And they nearly spoke, and they're like, oh, will Ornament speak next time, right? So I'm saying Present gets out this time, because again, not much has changed in the general opinion probably from this episode to the last one, except that, I mean, okay, I guess the viewers change year to year. Whatever, I don't know. I'm saying Present. That last time I didn't know and I was correct, so this time I'm gonna not know and I'm probably gonna be wrong. Episode 4, Jingle Bell Rock. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 4 of the Christmasly Object Show. We are getting there. We have ourselves another episode where we have gingerbread be a universally hated, but now by gingerbread themselves. Like, I can't do anything, right? And everybody now has to cheer them up. They have some witty, realistic dialogue. Okay, yeah, fair. Where they do that. Like, that's fun. Ornament, bro, I like Ornament. Ornament in this episode gets a lot more of that, like, background screen time. That's what you really need, right? Because, like, the thing about Ornament was that they were kind of a background character that was super mysterious, and that's how they've been sticking around. However, they're kind of too mysterious because they just don't show up. They're just not there, pretty much, right? And in this episode, has done a lot of effort to make Ornament be that type of character that's like kind of in the distance. So like that's why it's like you can see Candy Cane and Present like have their chit chatter about interrupting each other, but then at least you get to pay attention and you get to see Ornament to look at them and go like, bro, look at these two, right? So, like, it makes for that type of background thing. That, again, it's this type of subtle shenanigan that actually separates, that, like, no, not separates, that, like, proves that this is a high-quality object show material, right? It's this type of, like, intricate knowledge and being like, yes, I'm going to input non-visual, like, I'm going to input visual gags outside of the main gag, right? These are the types of things that actually do separate the boys from the men, right? The big dogs. of the object show. I feel like you can tell here as well. And anyway, Gingerbread eventually tries to be sad, and then eventually we end up having, who made the show? Oh my god, it was me. Who's been setting up all of the challenges that are so intricate, and not like y'all didn't do any of them. Yes, intricate challenges, and then people are up for voting who did the challenge, and the people who didn't do the challenge aren't up for voting anyway. Yes, very intricate. Very nice. And apparently Ornament saved what did they say? They saved 17 lives and killed 340. Well, pretty cool. They got the key to the city. There's a city. Anyways, the challenge ends up being Present gets eliminated, by the way. I'm going too slow. Hold on. Present gets eliminated with 200 less votes because Ornament's mysterious. So then Candy Cane and Fellas goes in. The challenge is to hit a bell with coal. Ornament does that because Ornament is pretty good at the challenges, and that means that they get one bonus vote. That they can vote for Candy Cane, I guess, with. And then that means... No, they just get one more vote total. And that means that we have ourselves the vote to win, which is Ornament or Candy Cane. Who's going to win? Obviously, it's Candy Cane. I feel like there's no way that Candy Cane doesn't win. Because Ornament, has shown up a bit more, right? In this episode especially, where we gave Ornament some much needed screen time to at least give off a reason why Ornament should win, right? Giving that additional screen time, because it's difficult to say I like Ornament if Ornament's the one character that's not on screen. At least this episode actually gives you Ornament screen time, so you can actually say, oh, I like Ornament, right? So there's a chance that also, of course, people trying to not make the predictable choice win. Candy Cane has, I think, been the first safe every time, and the vote to save is very similar to the vote to wins usually. So we're gonna have to see. However, Candy Cane presumably is going to win. It's time for the finale, the apparently very good finale. I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to find out. We're gonna have to get our judge hats on for episode 5, Last Christmas. Let's go. And that will be the final episode of the Christmasly Object Show, Last Christmas. So, you know what? I think that this finale was pretty good. I think that it has the right element of, sort of cheesiness that I think you can associate with Christmas, right? It's the type of cheesy villain, plot twist movie, right? Where it's like, oh, it's all going well, and then there's misunderstanding, and then surprise twist, there's a villain, and then we defeat them with the power of friendship, and then eventually they discover the true meaning of Christmas was the friends that we met along the way, right? It's that type of cheesiness that I think Christmas as a whole is associated with. It's like the one time, Christmas is like the one time where being generic, right, and just doing the same thing again, right, whether it's listening to the same songs, watching the same movies, or being the same is fine. Right, it's kind of the thing, right? Christmas is a very tradition-based thing, right? And it's like, is this the most groundbreaking plot of all time? No. Is it? First of all, it's made pretty well as far as the video is concerned. Again, it has that element of high quality where, again, you can feel the high quality even within these 5 minutes, in the same way that, the Grinch is based on the asset, the way that the everything's paced, the scenes are overall have a lot of angles and stuff, right? And all that jazz, while still keeping in a high amount of pacing and jokes and making sure to cut off at the right times. When they're trying to be serious, they drop in a joke to be like, yo, this is still the joke, this is the joke show, right? And it does all the things at the correct times, and it overall keeps itself being pretty solid. Anyways, eventually we have the winner. So the winner is Candy. Candy Cane wins the show, by the way, which is a surprise to absolutely zero people on Earth. I'm not gonna lie, Candy Cane was gonna win. I think they realistically won by less than I'd even expect, which is crazy because they won by over 1,000. So yeah, Ornament eventually comes in and shouts over at the last second, being like, "Stop!" And then of course Candy Cane goes like, "Yo, I won." So just the fact that you, the silent character who has literally never spoke, just so happens to consider this moment an important enough moment to speak to me. No, that's just you being disrespectful. I'm going in. I am not going to hear out the person that probably has a reason to randomly shout after not speaking at all. No, we're not doing that. Okay, then, fine. So they end up opening the door and then the Grinch arrives because apparently they got rejected. The Grinch got rejected from the Christmas Day show. What? You wanted to be in this show? Like, you, the Grinch? What's the point of that? Okay, what? I presume that the Grinch probably was trying to win the Christmas Day show. They went into Santa's workshop or whatever. And then they took it down, right? They defeated it. They, like, destroyed it, burned it down, right? During the visit or whatever. Got a confrontation, Santa. And they fucking beat him up, right? But, like, no. That's not what they do. I mean, they managed to get into the workshop anyways. You get into the workshop anyways. You don't even need a... Okay, whatever. So they get mad, and they decided that they were going to strike Ornament, be like, yo, I can't talk. You know, the guy threatened me or whatever. And then the Grinch goes like, whoa, ho, ho, I'm going to destroy you. And then Christmas Tree with the gun, a gun that you have now, ends up just fucking shooting the Grinch, and then they die and fall on the floor. And that means that we eventually won, because Candy King goes like, oh, well, you know how I was super emotional about everything? I saw the Grinch, and now I'm not as emotional about everything. So, yeah. And then they end up doing a happily ever after eating the Christmas cookies, and then the narrator goes like, yo, what if there's gonna be a season 2? And the gingerbread goes like, yo, what the hell? I mean, that's like the second time the season 2 gets mentioned in this episode, because earlier the Christmas tree goes like, yeah, I should have saved that for season 2. My presumption is that there probably wouldn't be a second thing, because, like, even though, okay, I don't know what the process of making one of these is, right? But it's that type of thing where, like, it kind of feels like it could be quite a burden. Not necessarily because it's that much effort to make, right? It's mainly probably because it's, like, it's just a thing on the schedule. It's one of those situations where it's like a thing has to happen at this time, otherwise it just doesn't work, right? That's kind of the scary thing about any timely based show, is that it has to happen at the time, otherwise it doesn't work, right? Which means that, like, there's a set moment where, like, you have to make sure that you can get this done. Otherwise, you are going to miss the day and everything, right? And it's going to be bad. And then it's like, you cannot make yourself too busy around the time that you make the yearly episode of the show. Otherwise, you're fucked. Right? That's kind of the problem. So it can be quite a burden. So I'm not really expecting a season 2. However, I mean, this episode seems to be pretty well received. However, I think YellowAngiru stuff does tend to get pretty well received pretty consistently. So, like, I guess there's nothing new. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see it, but I personally wouldn't expect it. But again, it depends on 2026, I guess, how 2026 goes. So is 2026 going to be a jolly time? Are we going to be singing All I Want for Christmas more than usual that year? I don't know. I need to find out if 2026 is going to be good for the universe or not. But, yeah, that's the Christmasly Object Show. It's got it's a fun little show. You know, it was a fun little show. It takes advantage of the knowledge from the higher effort shows, right? The knowledge of pacing, the knowledge of writing jokes, the knowledge of just all of that stuff, right? And it places it in a really small package, which makes it function as a nice little thing to watch. It's cute at the end of the day. It plays itself on the cheesiness factor of, like, oh, it's not actually that deep. Like, it has a story, but it's not that deep. Things happen kind of. People have realizations kind of at random, but hey, that's kind of Christmas now. So, yeah, I personally enjoyed it. I think it was nice, and I think as a Christmasly video, it's a nice package to be capable of seeing. Alright, that is, I think, what I can say about the Christmasly Object Show, Episode 5, Last Christmas, and the Christmasly Object Show as a whole. YellowAngiru has officially been added to the people I will watch in the future, in the sense that when they release a new episode, I'll watch the entirety of that series, which is probably a problem. I'm thinking about it. I think there's a lot of previous episodes of stuff like Paper Pirates, so, well, that's a problem for future me. Anyways, we are going to now check out some of the previous releases, and we'll start off with one of them. I don't know which one, but we'll go, our next segment, Meet will tell you. Let's go. The next object show that we're going to be taking a look at is Object Nathaniel. Yeah, I kind of forgot about this, I'm not going to lie. So in the middle of making episode 61, which was the last one before the break, this actually dropped. However, I was like, yo, I need to just lock in what I'm doing for that day, because that was already a gigantic episode. What did I do? I did 3 hours and a half in that day by itself, right? So that was a lot of stuff. So I decided to leave it. Object Nathaniel, so specifically ONA 2A released. However, that second season, because the A obviously means again. It always means again. Come on now. Which means there's a season 1 to watch. However, it's only 4 episodes, and they're all pretty fast, and even the ONA episodes are pretty fast. We're watching a lot of quick videos here, and we're really over-explaining them. Let's go to episode 1, Banana Batter. Let's go. Alright, that is ON1. So first of all, I will say this now, presumably, for every future show that is short and has object as the first word. My presumption heading into all of these is that they are heavily object-full inspired. I should really get to watching them. Anyways, let's get to the contestants here, which are Fruity, which is definitely just the FO Studio logo, Orange Square, which is an orange square, Sticky, which is a stick, Circle, who is a circle, and then there's CRT, who for some reason the host doesn't like. And then we have our intro, where we get to see the contestants again. No, do we? Yeah, we do. We get to see the contestants again. And the challenge is to bake banana bread. And Orange Square goes like, yo, I kind of like banana bread, right? But then the problem is that if you like, the guy's supposed to eat the banana bread, so they end up just eating Orange Square and be like, yep. Sure, you win. You just gotta face the consequences. Hey, if you think about it, worthy sacrifice. Sometimes you gotta do these types of things to win. And that means that everybody else is up for elimination. Will CRT, CS, or FL be up for elimination? I like yeah, it is just the FL Studio look. We're not even trying to hide it. Are you called Fruit or are you called FL Studio? Come on, bro. Come on. Whatever. Let's go to episode 2 now, which is longer. It's called Potion Explosion. Let's go, Jun. Alright, that is episode 2 of Object Nathaniel, Potion Explosion. So, we have ourselves, of course, a lot of little gags playing in the episode. Fruity was just watching a series called Charlie and Friends. Is this a thing? Is this a show that exists? Is that Charlie? Like, I mean, I should probably look it up. Whatever. But we end up having ourselves voting, where apparently we have a tie between the Circle and Fruity for who's getting eliminated, and it turns out that the eliminated contestant is going to be decided by a wheel. Then they're having a 20-second long gag, which, hey, for a 1 minute and a half long video is a while, of an extremely low bitrate wheel spin on Google, which is rather fun. To be fair, that's pretty difficult to make. I wonder if we manufactured the Windows effects by like actually filming, did those actually happen? Did we put on like a soundboard, or did we add those in editing later? I don't know. I'll be interested to find out personally. But they end up dipping. Goodbye, Fruity. And then the second challenge is to make a potion. You know what? I am pretty satisfied, okay, at the fact that at least this show's honest and be like, yo, why the fuck would any of these people know how to make a potion? Right, nobody here would know how to make a potion, and I'm glad that we actually get this knowledge. And like, we don't know how to make a potion, except Circle, which I don't know. I guess they do know how to do that, but even then, they fucking explode, and they're safe just by the fact that the others don't try. To be fair, as well in the other direction, though, you can say a lot of things are a potion, you know? If you mix water with salt, is that a salt water potion? You know, it's like a ocean potion. It makes it look like the ocean. You know, like, you can do a lot of things. You put a medicine in you search it. Is that a potion? Is that like a potion? You put like the freaking medicine in the thing, and you stir it up in the water, and it's a potion. You know, like, there's a lot of ways that you could probably cheese the challenge. However, yeah, I don't really know. But yeah, who's getting eliminated? I don't know. Fucking none of them appear. CRT has the most letters, so they're not getting out. Orange, no, no, Stick getting out because they were mean. They were mean that one time. They were mean that one. How dare a character be mean? Episode 3, CRT's First Shot. So let's go. Alright, that is episode 3 of Object Nathaniel. So, CRT gets very mad doing small talk, at stake trying to do small talk about who might get eliminated, which, you know what, fair enough. This is a serious show that has to happen quickly, 1 minute per episode, and we're doing small talk? I'm obviously doing sarcasm. The elimination. So I completely forgot that Orange Square is still been eaten, and that's why they didn't appear in the last episode. But they end up getting 5 out of 5 of the votes, literally every single one. Which, you know, that makes sense. I don't know. I didn't clock it. I just completely forgot about that. I'm not gonna lie. It makes perfect sense. I just didn't think of it. So, yeah, goodbye. And that means that we have our next challenge, which is to kill no copyright sounds. Because no copyright sounds randomly appears and it interrupts the host. My presumption on what happened in the real life is hold on. When did this happen? Hold on. When did this episode release? Episode released July 2024. Okay. NCSGD collab was in let's see, hold on, I'm trying to see when it released. February, no, wait, hold on, was it 2025 or was it 2024? No, it was 2025. Okay, well then never mind, I guess, because, wait, was it? Okay, it was 2025, wait, no, it was June 2024, wait, what? I'm getting a lot of conflicting dates about this one piece of information. When did new copyright sounds join Geometry Dash? Please, I'm begging you to know. I'm trying to understand. Oh, okay, no, the album was released in 2025, however, the collab was in June. Okay, because my presumption was that the collab was in June, and then we're like, oh, okay, that's why it's the topic, and then we get to cover it there. Anyway, CRT manages to shoot them because they have a gun, and the other people are up for elimination. Prediction on the elimination, I don't know, probably circle. Let's go to episode 4, which is actually already the finale. This is objectively an ending. Ha, let's go. Alright, so that is episode 4 of Object Nathaniel, and also therefore the finale, because we don't get a vote to win, we just have a final challenge. So, or eliminated contestant, well, actually, first of all, we have the contestants come back, which is interesting, because that means that, of course, Orange Square, everybody's favorite, fella that was dead the entire time, gets to come back for the first time in history. They have literally been dead for longer than they've been alive, which is interesting, but, we can see that Sticky eventually gets out. Goodbye. They end up saying some swear words because that's funny. I like it. CRT likes it, apparently. CRT agrees. Okay, then. I see you. And then we have ourselves the final challenge. What is the final challenge? Get past this ginormous block. So CRT just walks to the other direction of the block and wins the challenge. What? You didn't do anything. You just walk. You didn't even get past it. Okay, if the guy was like that, CRT walked around it and then ends up on the other side. Sure, but you didn't get past it. You just went further along the wall. Getting past it would surely be to get to the other side. Because that's what the fella's trying to do. That's what, you know, Circle's trying to achieve. Circle's trying to climb it so they get over it. And all the jokes that you don't need to do, that you can walk around it. But see, they doesn't even walk around it. They just stay in the same spot. No, they take 3 steps and then they somehow win. Bullshit. Scam. False information. This is a rigged victory. But okay, the fan eventually dips. Everybody goes like, yo, we shouldn't do that again. Which, they don't do that again. Well, I'm seeing an ONA. I'm seeing an ONA coming, so that's kind of complicated. But we have a little gag at the end, which I won't be commenting too much about. But yeah, that is Object Nathaniel. It's fine. It's alright. It's fine. As a series, it plays its course relatively well. I never think that these are the types of shows that are too good to watch on an episodely basis. In the sense where, like, watching an episode, like, watching it in the way that I just watched it, which is all in a row, you know, episode by episode by episode, right, it's pretty okay, right? Yeah, that was a fun little 5 minutes. But, like, I swear, waiting to watch this, like, day by day, I don't know, I feel like these aren't the types of shows that is very good to follow, right? Because solo happens, right? And it's like, I don't know, you just kind of end up slowly fizzling it out of your system because, oh, yo, this is the thing that I don't need to watch because nothing really happens, you know? So, I never really recommend them. Maybe I don't get the hype behind Object Full, but maybe that's because I haven't watched Object Full. I need to stop. Let's go to, ONA, which is longer by every episode. Episode 1 is also the most viewed video on the playlist. Return of the Metal Block. Oh, okay then, let's go. I don't know what that means. Let's go. Alright, so that is ONA 1. So we have ourselves a different set of cast than the other set of cast. 10 contestants this time. The 4 original ones. Wait, were there 4? Were there 5? Wait. Wait a minute, somebody missing? Wait a minute. I feel like somebody's not here. Am I dumb? Wait, how would there be 4? No, there's 4 episodes for the... No, there were 5 characters. Wait. Oh yeah, Circle drops in. Oh fuck, I'm stupid. Never mind. I'm sorry. Dumb. Don't count. Those last 30 seconds didn't happen. We have the new contestants, which are a bunch of fellas. They're like, hold on. They're like a freaking crumpled up ball, a mouse, a closet who's really scared, like a toothpaste. There's a lamp, and there's a like a freaking a toy. Not a toy box. It's like a lunch box, I think. And then all the old contestants come back. They form the 2 teams. One of them has a newbie, and the other one has one of this Team Wonder. The other one is called Team Orange because it just so happens the majority of the old contestants are orange. So the challenge ends up being to apparently destroy the giant block from the other time. And then the first team, the old newbies, pretty much go like, they do 2 plans. First plan, do nothing, doesn't work. Second plan, throw Fruity at it. For some reason, Fruity, which might be the, like, you know, out of all of them, the least heavy thing. But yeah, they throw Fruity about 100 times. It just ends up painting it on accident, which I'm sure it was very enjoyable for Fruity to die that many times. In the meantime, Mouse, which apparently, by the way, has actual control of a cursor. That is really funny. Oh my god, what? There's a lot of interesting things that you could do with that. Because it's like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, if you think about it, does that mean that every time the mouse walks, is the cursor moving? Does it have to align itself with the cursor? Keep the cursor nearby? Do it have to like jump the click? You know, these are the types of things that are cool, that I enjoy seeing, that I think more of would be cool. I don't think this show's not serious enough to ever really, like, I think take too much advantage of that, right? Like, this is just for a gag. It's not actually a character like type. However, it's really interesting. Anyways, that we can right click and delete, and the mouse can do that, you know. Everybody else up for eliminations. The vote to save, which is interesting. My presumption on the eliminated contestant here is probably going to be Steak. Steak didn't do much in this episode, so my presumption is that they get eliminated. And then in the meantime, we apparently have a different host, an announcer box, announcer speaker box fella. They're just called announcer according to themselves, and they're out here recruiting special people to join their own competition. So they end up just stealing Circle to join their own show, regardless of what anybody says. Which is interesting because, oh well, they don't actually take Fruity. Fruity actually remains, which is interesting because I thought like we were asking, you know, everybody, right? But then no, actually we are literally just asking, like Circle's coming in, Fruity's not, which is interesting. I wonder if what's gonna happen is that Nathaniel in the next episode is gonna conveniently not notice, and then later on, like, Fruity's probably going to tell Nathaniel, and Nathaniel's going to go, it's fine, and then eventually somebody else is going to disappear in the next episode, and Nathaniel's going to go, it's fine, then eventually it's too late, and then we have a big problem. That's my presumption about what's going to happen, but I guess we'll find out pretty soon. So this episode released a grandiose 1 year ago, August 2024, and then 2A, yes, A, we spent a year and a half to get an A episode out, released the couple of days ago. So there was a while between episodes here. Welcome, Tack. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 2A of ONA, and yes, the classic little thing of episode that tries to be too good and suffers the consequences massively. Not in terms of the episode not being good, just the fact that this is a 2024 show with episode 2A releasing in 2025 that doesn't even have much of anything at all in it, because we just get to see 3 minutes, which is the rough length of episode 1, but in that time span we get to do the elimination, and that's about it. Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, when you accidentally realize, right, when you're making a show, right, like, this is the thing that happens quite a bit. People kind of make a show, kind of like as a half joke, okay, and then they randomly go like, yo, I realized I got an opportunity, because people are watching this. ONA 1 got like 3,000 views. They got characters that, we roughly know about them. I've got ideas for lore and shit. How about I just lock in and make it a good show, right? But then we overshoot by a country mile. I mean, this shot, okay, this just beginning area. I'm not, like, this just beginning scene right here with freaking, Fruity and CRT. Like, I'm not gonna lie, yes, it looks amazing, it looks incredible. I love sunrise aesthetics. First of all, the camera angles are very solid, the ways that the characters are moving are very solid. CRT's new asset is very solid, Fruity's new asset is very solid. Like, it's all very good, but it's like, yeah, of course this takes a million years. It's like, yes, of course it takes a million years. Imagine we're making other shows in the midst of it. Like, it's just one of those unfortunate situations where it's like, damn, I mean, it's good, but I see why it takes a while, right? It's unreasonable levels, especially considering, at least, like, with this show, unlike the other one, this show, it seems to be relatively completely solo, right? Which kind of makes it, like, it becomes way more complicated to keep up this level of quality solo, especially. I mean, this intro, look at this intro, bro. This intro is not pretty crazy. With how smooth the characters are moving and everything. Like, it's all going insane. But then it's like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be like this. It's gonna just take a while. So, like, at the end of the day, I mean, especially, I actually don't have faith at all. I'm sorry. I was saying, when an episode releases, I'd have faith that the more than can come soon, because we've acclimatized to the level. But have we acclimatized to the level? We released 2A. We're still not done with episode 2. We still not actually seen the challenge part. It's usually the harder part of the episode to make, because at least the elimination part of the episode is the one where people are just sitting there talking, right? So, like, this, it's rough. It is rough. I mean, I hope that we can keep up this quality at a much more consistent pace, right? I don't know if it can, but if we can, it'd be nice. But can we? Like, I don't know. That's kind of the question. It's gonna be hard to. We're gonna need to find out. And currently, if history says the future, then it's not looking good. By the way, the eliminated contestant, which by the way is hosted by Face, which is a face who happens to be a face and does face things like smile and read the votes and have hands. Ends up saying that Sticky is eliminated eventually with 1 vote. Even just how the text of the votes ends up getting eliminated is kind of, it's a type of high effort. But again, I appreciate it. It's so high of an effort where it's like, no, yeah, this will take 1 million years, and it's unfortunate. So that is 2A. It's very good. It's just, can you do this? But like, we need to ask the real questions. Can you actually do this, or do we need to take a step back? Right, well, like, because I don't know, from an outsider perspective, it looks like after we spent so long on this, and we got other shows that are happening, and all of that jazz, right, and there's only 2A and all that stuff, it really looks like you can't do this at this quality, and if you can't do this, you have to tone it down, right? Okay. That's what I really have got here to think. But because then you go like, but there's not that many characters, only 10 of them. Okay, yeah, if you release an episode every year and a half, the show will be done in 15 years. I mean, it only has 10 episodes. Like, it just has to go faster. But yeah, that's ONA. I hope for the best, of course, because it was a nice episode. But it has to happen at a better pace. Let's hope for the best. I don't know what the next thing that I'm gonna be looking at is. I really did not plan out today. Next thing, hope for the best. Go. Alright, next up we shall chat about the 22ndly object show very fast, because also when I was making the last episode, this time during editing, the release of the 2nd episode of the 4th season for Rio, released. As a reminder, the gimmick with season 4, every episode is animated by a different person. Last time I got to meet the entire cast, I got to say their one-liner, and everybody was up for elimination. Let's see who gets out in the next episode. Gift of the year, plus it is my birthday, 24th. Let's go. Alright, 22ndly object show. So we have ourselves the birthday, and the challenge ends up to giving a gift. Who animated this episode? Did anybody? What it said? Description: Azure Cherry. Good job. Anyways, we end up having Kate getting eliminated. Goodbye. Bye. And then we have everybody give a gift, and they get rated. You know, this is a very smart video. You know, I know why. because it's thinking of the challenge of the season very smartly, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't even know probably at the time of filming it who's animating that episode, right? So it's kind of difficult to direct them too much, and you want to have the animator be able to express their creative freedom, to do whatever they want. So that means that you just have a super open-ended challenge, like give me a gift, and then you just give the ratings, and therefore what the animator ends up actually showing off as the item that gets given is entirely up to them, which is really smart way to do it. So that way the animator gets their own control and they don't just have to deal with a super finite set. Like, they actually have an extreme amount of open-endedness. The best gift ends up being a 10 out of 10 given by Closety. They literally give a ball with 10 out of 10 on it to the clock, which ends up being a 10 out of 10, right? There's a couple of other creative things as well. I like the gag of one scar being a 2 and the other one being a 1, and then the button being a button that says do not press and everything, right? Everybody's up for elimination, but I guess we're gonna have to find out, except Closety, actually. So yeah, I've talked about this quite a lot, but I just wanted to appreciate it because I think this is a very smartly made episode. Alright, next thing, bye. Oh yeah, the next thing, it's actually a pretty big release that I forgot completely about. Pretty random, a couple of days after Dibs 5, and yet again I think it was the day after, the day I started the break. Zombie Turtle 17, of course the host and main creator of Dibs, alongside of course everybody else in the Dibs crew, has made a different object show, started a different object show that's called YOLO, YOLO. Episode 1 is titled The Building. It's already got 9.6 thousand views. It started 3 days ago. I have no idea what this is. Genuinely nothing. But hey, let's watch it. Let's see what this is, and then we'll find out and chat all about it. Let's go. Alright, I have just watched YOLO 1, The Building. So this is an interesting concept for an object show indeed. I mean, it is seeming, to me at least, from what I've seen from Zombie Turtle, that this is roughly just kind of the ballpark of things that we do around here. We invent sort of out there object show ideas and we just experiment, right? This is kind of the lounge for those experimental-ish show styles, right? And then it's like, yo, will we hit it out of the park? Will it be bad? Will it be good? I don't know, but we gotta do it to find out, right? So we get to see it in stuff like Dibs, which is pretty unique, and this, which is unique. Okay, alright. So I wouldn't call this unique, alright? Because at the end of the day, right, okay, no, hold on. It's unique, but I wouldn't call it original, okay? Because at the end of the day, what is this? This is a competition show where everybody is forced to compete in an extremely, extremely dangerous challenge, right? Extremely, extremely dangerous challenges, where you die if you fail the challenge. However, you can't come back, right? Which means that death equals elimination. You only live one, YOLO, right? And then you end up having a shit ton of people, a lot of which don't get a lot of screen time, and are mainly background actors. However, we eventually seem to have a couple of focal points on a couple of the characters that seem to be of importance that I think we're planning to make go far. What did I just describe? I described YOLO, sure, but I also described Squid Game. This is just Squid Game, but object show. Like, that's what this is. At the end of the day, everybody gets brought up. Like, the only direct difference between this and Squid Game is that in Squid Game, technically everything is voluntary. Everybody wants to join the show because they want to win the money, right? That's they want to win the money because they're in extreme debt and they can't do any of that stuff, right? So if they get mad, they literally have to, otherwise they'll lose, right? And in this show, everybody's just forced to compete. They spawn in there. A couple people get randomly mad at glue or whatever for apparently doing it. Some people theorize that they're in hell. Whatever happened, something happened and then they're gone. Then they're there now, right? But like, that's the one difference. Other than that, this is literally Squid Game on the dot with mildly less people. And at the end of the day, you get to notice how this show and this episode plays out is very similar to how a Squid Game challenge plays out, like green light, like red light, green light. You end up having a couple of people try out different tactics. They try out different strategies for the challenges in kind of batches. And what happens is certain batches work and certain batches don't. So you get to see a lot of deaths like packed up together. in one moment you end up having a lot of deaths, and then eventually the challenges, presumably in the future episodes, will start being more 1 versus 1s to stretch it out rather than just a direct challenge. Like a challenge like this is entirely made to wipe people out rather than anything. So that we end up lowering down the number. But then in future challenges, we end up having more challenges where like, oh, only 24 get past, right? And then the other 24 get by. Which in my presumption is probably what's going to happen, because it's just a natural progression of this type of thing. Because, I mean, if you have challenges like this, on average, you're going to have, like, what, 3 episodes before everybody died, right? So then it ends up kind of being a little bit interesting. So our challenge ends up being to go to the hole in the ceiling. However, there's also rising lava, so everybody has to rush. A couple of people try going in the building to try to go inwards there. The idea that those people follow is that apparently if the lava rises, then you will rise alongside the building. That'll be great. Which is an interesting idea. I mean, okay, it depends what the building was, I guess, right? Because, like, a physical building, no, it wouldn't rise with the lava. However, a building person, or complex, I guess as they're called, is, it's not 100% implausible that they could move, right, or do stuff. However, unfortunately, they can't, which means pretty much nearly all of those people end up dying. Some people end up climbing. One of them, a button, ends up having an extremely long arm, and majority of people end up just kind of using that as a rope to get by. Everybody else, Glue ends up getting by with the fella. Now 763 ball, they end up sticking up on them for some reason. Yeah, just there's just a lot of just general tactics. This is also one of those episodes that is just kind of complicated to talk about because, you know, it's a lot of action. Usually, the more action an episode has, the less I can exactly talk about the specific stuff. It's like, oh, they didn't do the jump. Oh my god, right? Like it's kind of that type of critique that I can't really do. But there's some interesting characters in the mix. I like the warp pipe joining in. The lava apparently gets sped up quite a bit because too many people were making it alive. A lot of people die. The main villain, the main global villain, ends up being this acid fella. So this is like an acid tank. And basically the deal with them is that they are very specifically abusing their power, right? Because they know that as soon as they'll touch anybody, they literally can't hold on to the acid. So, like, for example, the glue fella and everything, who's holding on to, I think, like, everybody else, ends up going like, yo, pull me up. And then acid guy was like, yeah, sure, I'll pull you up. And then they hold on to their hand until they let go, right? And then that's kind of the evil character. And everybody wants them to leave, however, nobody can actually push them off, right? Because, again, nobody can hold on to their hands. There's one flying contestant in the entire thing. One contestant with the flying powers, this, like, pink thing. However, they can only really carry one person at a time. Like she's really trying out here. But, yeah, it's kind of complicated to say, what even, you know, what is this? What are you? Are you a baby bottle? No, what is this character? I don't know, but you have wings. So yeah, a bunch of people die, and then eventually the people, you can carry up a couple of the people, and then 2763, as the pink fellas make it, for some reason 2763 barely doesn't make it, and they're getting sliced off in half. So, that means that, if I'm not mistaken, 63 people get to live heading into the next episode. We have a very fire intro. Okay, I mean, no. Is it? Okay, it's a very fire intro the first time. Okay, because when you realize what bro's about to say, and then the super quick pace intro is, I don't know if it's gonna work quite as deep in the next video, but it's a nice intro, for sure. So that's what we have, and that's the episode. So what do you think of the content? First of all, there is a rejoin, which is interesting. 38, which doesn't mean that people can get revived. I thought for a moment the idea was that guy couldn't revive people, and that was the idea. Like, what? A revival? What the fuck's that? Right? But no, he actually can revive people. He just doesn't want to. So yeah, those are all of the dead contestants. There's a couple of interesting characters in there. There's the whiteboard. I think the 763 ball could be a contender. I don't really know. The way that these characters are numbered is very, very random. Yeah, no, there's no logic behind these numberings at all. It's not the order in which they died. I mean, no, it's not. Because the 763 ball died last, but they're number 11, which doesn't even coincide with their number, so it's not any type of convenient reason for that. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, well, we end up having like a Split 8 Ball. We have a couple of characters. We have a couple of characters from different shows, kind of like half cameos. Because if I'm not mistaken, there's like the freaking DVD case from Animatic, and I think there's the Sign character, right? Isn't that Two-Face the Sign character a character from what the hell is the name? It's Time for the. Isn't that a character from It's Time for the? I think that it is. I haven't watched It's Time for that, but I've like seen it. I think that Sign is the character from that, right? So there's a couple of cameos. Those also could be realistic rejoin options. Whiteboardy for getting eliminated first, I think, is very likely candidate, and I'll probably vote that. No, it's either November 2000. I feel like 2763 ball, especially for dying so unfairly. You know, they to be fair, everybody else is technically their fault. Whiteboardy's not really their fault, but everybody else is really their fault, right? At the end of the day. That they fall, like, oh, should have been better. But doing a 763 ball, I mean, no, the host just arbitrarily closed the challenge on them, right? So yeah, I'd predict them to dip. But yeah, that's YOLO. Do I think that this concept works? It's fine. It is okay. I feel like it is not as cool as you imagine on the first glance, right? It's okay. As a concept, it's nice to have these types of different concepts, and it makes for an interesting watch. But I feel like a lot of people would like it. However, a lot of people will like it, in my opinion. I think this is going to do well. I think for me personally, I'm not like a gigantic fan of the concept. I'm not going to go like, this is the future. Do Squid Game, guys. Right? Even Squid Game, I wasn't that even into Squid Game. Squid Game is pretty good, but like for narrative reasons more than the direct concept of the challenge. Right? Because like the direct concept of Squid Game isn't really that superbly interesting without actual characters and their personalities to follow. Like, the thing about Squid Game is that Squid Game was deep because the thing about Squid Game is that you got to follow the characters that you really don't want them to die. Right, so that makes the stakes higher. But when you have just like 100 people that you don't know who the fuck they are, then it's like, it doesn't really matter that much. You know, like you end up having a much less emotionally impactful sting. Right, when it's like that, because it's like, yo, I mean, if you get eliminated, I don't care that much, you know. So that's kind of the situation, and like Squid Game gets you to build the bonds with the character who are eliminated. Again, this is episode 1, right? But like, it doesn't do any of preemptive work to set up characters, right? Which means that it has to do it in the midst of the episodes, which I'm worried that it's not going to be capable of doing, while also keeping the episodes at a reasonable length. So that's kind of the main problem that I see. Because like, if you don't do this, you just end up making a Mr. Beast video, a Mr. Beast Squid Game, right? So you get to see the challenges and action and shit, and it's roughly interesting, but it's not as good because you don't have the connection to the characters, right? And you just end up seeing the action, and like the action can be fun. Some people enjoy the action raw on its own. I mean, that video has 1 billion views, but like in general, I mean, does it literally have 1 billion views? That's like 500 million or whatever. But like, in general, it doesn't feel the same connection. I can feel that happening here. I know, I'm comparing an object show made by one guy to Squid Game. But look, we can take inspiration. We gotta know what it does right, so we can try to take it. You know, we have to analyze what good things do right. That way, we can input it into our smaller thing, right? So I think that we have to take a look at Squid Game. What does it do right? Why does Squid Game work? And we need to try to insert it into this show. Don't just do Squid Game. That's another guy already did Squid Game, but object show. So here we got to make it a little bit different, of course. However, the actual narrative ideas of this style of show, we can borrow from Squid Game, right? Like the actual narrative, why does this work? That bullet point list, you still need to check. You can derive from there, right? But those main ticks still need to be ticked, right? Anyways, that's YOLO. Today I've talked a shit ton. I don't know why I'm talking so much today. Let's go to the next segment. Go. I'm in the microphone. Alright then, the next show that we're going to be taking a look at is Object Whatchamacallit. So, Whatchamacallit, it was made by Hubbabubba. It is one of those object full thingies. We got to see episode 1, which was super fast. It was to turn into an image, and then a green grass fella ended up making everybody else was up for elimination. There's a couple of cool designs in there, but we don't get to see them at all. Well, ever since, how many episodes have released of the show? Freaking... Three episodes are released, so we're gonna watch them starting by episode 2 Tuesday. Alright, that is episode 2 of Object Whatchamacallit. I'm not gonna lie, the screen time being shared across characters in this episode, no, in this show so far, is hilariously uneven. We get to see maple syrup and turkey so much, and everybody else so little. It's actually hilarious. Anyway, someone with way more votes than I had any right to. We end up getting like score limit with 22, which, I mean, considering the next best got 4, is actually insane. When, like, why? What the hell? But okay. I mean, I would eliminate them because they don't have an asset, but still, why? Challenge is to urinate on somebody. Maple syrup does that because, you know, they're a mysterious fellow that does mysterious things, and that means that everybody else is therefore up for elimination. My prediction is that Hill gets eliminated because the joke is that on the voting screen they replace the other fella, which means that they are like they're literally bigger in their jokes, so you get to see them more in the elimination screen, so presumably they get eliminated, but I don't really know, and they also don't show up in the episode, so why would they be safe? Or Doghouse, one of those two. For some reason, the immunity symbol for maple syrup ends up just being the Simpsons logo, the Simpsons cast. I hope somebody writes out the entirety of the Simpsons cast in the comment, and that counts as a vote for maple syrup. That'd be funny. But yeah, that is Object Whatchamacallit 2. It's time for Object Whatchamacallit 3, called Doghouse Does Something on Christmas Eve. I'm sure. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 3. Hey, I'm glad that we, like, realized that Maple Syrup is getting too much screen time, because I don't think they show up in this episode at all, which is quite nice. Challenge, give a weird eldritch being a home. Doghouse is a house, so they end up taking the sacrifice and residing them within themselves so that they can win the challenge. Everybody else doesn't even do the challenge. And yeah, they end up having a couple of one-liners. Interesting thing, by the way, we get to see quickly the elimination area, which is very blue. It's a very blue area. And it reminds me a lot of the underworld from Green. Remember Green? It had like that weird reverse land that they were all sent to. And like, no, even just the Green base home, right? Like the land, it looks exactly like this. This is just the blue variant of that, which I think I'm gonna say it's extremely suspicious, and I have a feeling that Green is in some way, the show is somehow going to be connected to this area. I don't know what it is about it. This might be Green season 2 incoming. Eliminated contestant probably longs. They barely did anything in this episode. Or it could be Jack in the Box. No, actually, Jack in the Box didn't show up, and they weren't too interesting. Okay, no, Jack in the Box gets out. Let's go to episode 4, which is the newest episode, released 1 day ago. It is also the longest, I think, because it's debuted. Object Whatchamacallit 4. It's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Alright, that is episode 4 of Object Whatchamacallit. So, you end up having our eliminated contestant actually be Jack in the Box. I'm shocked they got that right. I thought I threw, I'm not gonna lie, I thought I threw by guessing them, but I had to do what I was feeling. I'm actually very shocked that I'm correct. That's actually, I'm very shocked. And then we have ourselves a debut. So, there's like 1 quadra-gazillion characters up for debut. How many? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 24, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41! 41! I was noticing, it was never ending. More just kept showing up. I was looking at the video and I was like, okay, or surely we're ending the number, right? Or not many more. And then they just kept on coming. There were more. There's always more. 41 of them. How are we gonna vote? The winner's gonna get in with like 7 votes or something. I don't know. Okay. Wow. I have no idea. So, wow. I genuinely don't have a damn clue. I mean, there's no like Green Homer. I don't know if there's any like super powerful fella. There's a couple of interesting characters. Okay, I just forgot about them already. I like certain jokes. Like the characters interacting with each other, like ChatGPT and Butler Bell. No, ChatGPT and Butler Bell. Animal Cracker saying ChatGPT, and the next character goes like, "I'm not ChatGPT," right? And for like apple slice's pronouns are apple slice, which is interesting. And they also do have the earlier line, the one before the start, so that could make them a potential candidate, I guess. There's also Negative Juice. I really like Negative Juice as a concept. I think that's a cool character. Evil fella that's like, I'm evil. I don't know why I'm evil, but like, I'm supposed to be evil, right? So yeah, I hope they get some votes. Who else exists? What is it? Stormy Shake? What is a Stormy Shake? What is that? You look like a boulder, but shaped like a milkshake. Okay, you look kind of cool. Or like the smartphone interacting with the raccoon forecap. Like, that's interesting, right? Then we have Chainsaw, who tries to, who threatens the audience. Ghoul in the Box is interesting because, of course, they directly relate to a character that's in the show, an eliminated one, but they do relate to a character in the show, so they could or something. Oh, Magic Mirror. Oh, yo, that's a sick character idea. The Fondue Mag. I don't know why the Fondue Mag complains that people are typing. I don't. Why? I don't know. Is it because Fondue not in a mag or something? Okay. Toasty. Okay. There's some interesting characters here at the end. I mean, Toasty is a character in a different show. They're in Oh, do I not remember the name? Wait, do I not remember the name? No. Wait. Oh, fuck. No, I'm getting exposed. Don't remember the names of the shows I watch. No. Oh fuck. No. Wait. It was Object. It has a second season that's incoming. It was the one with the voting, not the voter fraud, with the people who could vote an infinite amount of times. It had Wicket. Okay, I found it. Object Schmobject. Okay, yes. So Toasty is the host of Object Schmobject. So theoretically there could be a combination there. And then Gom, who's from Mega the Other Sugar. If I'm not mistaken, this is that one YouTuber who predicts this stuff. So that's also interesting. As a possibility for who could join. But yeah, I pretty much just built up a long list of characters I find interesting. Oh yeah, the flip note was also really cool. They have probably some good opportunities of joining as well. The mystery question mark block, I think, is from Tomato, who we've also taken a look at their shows before. And then there's also this with John fella, who I just think might be interesting because they're the only non-object. That's my long list. If I have to drop in one completely random prediction, who gets in? Flip note. Flip note's my completely random prediction. However, I don't actually have any basis beyond that. I could be anyone. Again, there aren't that many votes running around at this show, which means that it's likely to just be whoever has the most pulling power between like friends and stuff, right? So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to find out. That is the current state of Object Whatchamacallit. It is definitely one of the shows of all time. Let's go to the next thing. Alright, next up we shall chat about Wreath Warriors, which is the series by Digital Clocks Media, which had so far had a return this Christmas to release daily. Last time we did episode 4, which was apparently the set up to the finale. The festive light ended up winning and eventually picked ornament to be with them in the finale, and that means that Present eventually ends up dipping. However, there's 2 episodes that I need to watch, but there's only one can be the finale. I mean, we said that the next one is going to be the finale, so I'm starting to doubt that something shady might be going on. Let's go with Wreath Warriors 5, the Christmas musical. Go. Alright, that is episode 5, the Christmas music. So we have the fabled song, which I've heard before in the Leonmation, wow, another show. I don't remember what it was from. Was it from, was it just a Christmas song? No, it wasn't. It was from freaking, was it the Castaways? The song, the show with the Castaways, whatever. But anyways, I mean, it's cute, it's nice, and the singing is surprisingly competent, especially when Delight and Ornament are singing together. It actually ends up being quite a nice harmony. And we get to see the fellas in the void, what they're doing, which I always enjoy. A couple of jokes, a couple of serious things, and then we end up doing everything. Does it need to be its own episode? No, I mean, okay, I'm guessing that we pre-made all of these anyways, right? So that we could drop them, day by day, right? Which means that like you could just combine this and the next app, you know? Like we didn't, like it's not, there's no reason for this to be its own episode other than you just felt like it. Like if you can combine these two because they're not, like, this isn't a distinct episode, and then you just have a different thing, you know, like, it makes more sense. But oh well, I guess some things in life don't make a lot of sense. Time for the maybe actual finale of the Wreath Warriors, even though there's still one video left on the playlist. The Christmas Sandwich 2. That is a Wreath Warriors episode 6, the Christmas Sandwich 2. The actual finale, the challenge is to make a sandwich, because that's what episode 1 does, right? So then we end up having the light apparently realizing that if you break the fourth wall and type in a sandwich emoji, then you have a sandwich emoji on the screen and you can give it to the hanger. When that means that you win. Unfortunately, Ornament doesn't get enough time to go to the store that somehow exists, even though we're in a white void. But unfortunately, they lose. But yeah, I mean, I must say that this light is a worthy winner, to be honest, because like they're doing the challenges. At the end of the day, they didn't have too much ratting on them in terms of sport. And they also definitively managed to just do challenges. They were mean when they had to, but then they were nice when they also had to, right? They had logic behind the way that they did things, and overall, they were just a very solid all-round competitor, which means that overall, the strong character won. So yeah, will we do a season 2 of Wreath Warriors? Do I expect it? Well, first of all, I don't like the word Wreath. I think we should change it. But secondly, I think that, I mean, it depends how, like, if it's like November, and then we feel like pre-making 7 videos, then yeah, sure, make a second season. And if not, I don't know. It depends how 2026 goes. I said this in the Christmas The Object show as well. Will we be feeling jolly, or will we be feeling no, I need, like, what's a word that would fit? Jolly Molly. That's not a word. Isn't that a drink? Whatever. We have ourselves the episode, and that is that. Overall, my opinion of Wreath Warriors was that it was pretty solid to watch. As far as the comeback, it had some episodes that were fun. It was some fun little gags in there. It had some challenges with storylines and everything. Like, it acted itself out super fast. However, it made sense and it didn't ever annoy, right? So it was a solid watch. Thank you, Wreath Warriors. Next thing. Alright, next up we must talk about the One Take Object Show. Yippee! A couple on Christmas, I think there was a One Take Object Show episode release, episode 6, Stranded with Pie. Just as a reminder of what happened last time in the One Take Object Show. What even did happen? Oh yeah, they all made a movie. We got to see the movies, and then I think Lovey won because they had just debuted that episode. There's not much we can really expect, because of course it's a one-take object show. What the take gives is what the takes is what we got to work with. The episode is called Stranded with Pie. Let's go. Alright, so that is the One Take Object Show 6, Stranded with Pie. So first thing I'm gonna say immediately, just to preface this, so the introduction that I actually gave was wrong, because I forgot. I did a misremembering. Like, it was the movie making episode. How it wasn't the Glovey debut episode. That was the episode before. My bad. The movie making episode was actually won by Scribble. Obviously, you know, Scribble won the creating thing with the SpongeBob thing that they made. Yes, I'm super sorry for misremembering. And in fact, Glovey ends up actually getting eliminated directly in this episode, which is pretty crazy. So we end up going to the final 3 of the show. How many votes did you get eliminated? Like 7 or something? I don't know. But they got to bye-bye, and now we have ourselves Scribble, Test Tube, and Popcorn. I'm super surprised that Test Tube has actually managed to survive for as long as they have managed to survive. I think that is quite impressive, considering you know, they're not an ass flip of either. It's just such a similar character that I'm surprised that they actually survive. The second thing I'm gonna quickly say, as it goes, at this point, I don't even know how this single take shenanigan is even working, because, like, dude, there is so much nuance to, like, the edits going on. You know, like the amount of editing work that has actually been placed in a video like this is so much higher than some of the previous episodes. Like episodes 2 or 3 don't even compare to how much like stuff is actually placed into these videos in terms of editing. But at this point, I don't even know how to take gets made. Like I'm gonna can we have a behind the scenes when the video when the show ends? I would like to see that. And the third thing I'm gonna say, I'm in the video. I'm in it. I'm in the video. Me cameo. I cameo, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's start off here by the fact that, I said final 3. Incorrect. Actually, Polka Pie, that is a polka dot pie, ends up joining because they saw the show across the street. As usual, I love the thing with shows set in white voice, that they just conveniently ignore the fact that they're in a white void and go like, oh yeah, there's streets and towns and houses and stuff, and we're definitely not in a white void. It's great. Every show does it. So they end up joining, making our final 4, which they end up, doing their thing. They're all girls, and they're all sent over to the forest, where the challenge is to, survive, I think. And then Popcorn immediately dies because they don't have technology. Technically, they have technology on them, like in the form of headphones, However, I guess that doesn't count because it has to be plugged in or whatever. Wouldn't it be Bluetooth? Well, or whatever. But Scribble eventually will avenge them by finding food. So they go over to do that. And then they end up adventuring around the forest, which apparently includes many cameos, such as ending up in real life. That's like a yarn ball. Yeah, it's like we've googled a black yarn ball, which is technically the closest thing in real life to how Scribble looks, which I think is pretty creative. A Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Object Catchup. Wait, what? No, that's pretty crazy. Wait, where? Okay, hold on. Where are we going? So there's Object Catchup, of course. I'm there. With the thing. The episode didn't have a title at the time. So I like how we had to use the badly cropped out circle of the YouTube avatar, because it's a square put into a circle. At this point, I don't know if I should, but I feel like at one of these moments I gotta get to the drawing board. I gotta make an OC. I gotta make an OC like properly, because I feel like there's missed opportunities here. I gotta. And you know what they say, copy more from Mikey. So bro's got an OC. I need to make one. But oh well, they end up in like a bunch of other shows, animatic, digital circus, some other shows that I don't quite immediately recognize. We end up in Family Guy. Okay, there's a lot of them. There's like Smash Bros. And then we end up going down into the ocean, where we steal a fish's income, and then we leave. However, the fish eventually, of course, runs out to catch revenge. Hey, that was a pretty solid jump. And apparently, a bite from the fish is poisonous, so they end up dying. Which means that those two end up chilling. Polka Dot Pie eventually ends up being like, yo, Test2, do you want to eat a part of the pie? And Test2 goes like, no, I don't want to eat you. That would be weird. Because you're literally right here and you see me doing it. Which I think is very valid. However, they don't say that. They just say, no, because, no. Like, you can explain the reason. Come on. This freaking Test2 with the crazy crash outs or whatever. Then they're valid, except they're not explained properly, so they end up being not valid, which is crazy. But eventually they end up eating the pie out of anger at that test tube, which makes the test tube explode because they're glass, and then they end up getting hit by a gorilla. Then they get split in half. Somehow they're still alive, because I don't know. So then the other fellas come back, and I don't even know what's going on at the end. One of them gets like possessed, and they need to eat an egg to get back to normal, and then they eat an egg, and now they're back to normal, and then now the split pie is there, and they technically did win the challenge, so good job to them. And then at the end, and then the other fellas are up for elimination. Who gets out? I don't know, probably Popcorn. Popcorn is cool, but they don't do anything in this episode, and I feel like they didn't do that much in the last episode either. So I feel like we're starting to run out of moments, of Popcorn moment. Popcorn was kind of the goat a couple of episodes back, but I feel like we're kind of losing the plot here of the Popcorn. I feel like it might start to be time to go here if you are Popcorn. Polka Dot Pie is actually just seems to be a character that's actually playing, like just it's not a one time. It seems, because everybody's out for elimination set them. So polka pies can come in, or I guess the polka pies, because this one we're multiple. We split in twain. There we go. That's a one-take object show. I mean, overall, I'm still very impressed at how these videos are ending up are turning out, because like considering just how much they. It's tough, isn't it? It may, like, as more times are passing, these videos we're still managing to pull off some pretty complex episodes, despite the fact that we're doing it in one take. And again, if you compare those first two episodes to the episodes right now, these episodes right now really feel like they've upped the bar. And I don't even really know how. I don't really know what changed, but the takes are just going better. I don't know if they're going better, if we're doing some editing thing, cutting out pauses or anything, right? Writing the script before. I don't know what we're doing. But something's happened, and now the takes are just simply going better than they were in the first batch of episodes. They're just better now, which is okay. I mean, I guess it's not a skill issue; it's a skill non-issue. It's like the opposite. What is the opposite of a skill issue? I don't know, but it's there. So yeah, that's pretty solid. Yeah, I'll cameo again. If I'll order another one. I'll give the money behind the counter. I didn't do that. Imagine I did that. Here's a payment of $10,000 for Object Catchup to be included in the video. Which yes, I know I didn't do that. I do not have that kind of money. I have like 4 cents that is spent on Steam. I'll buy Portal on Steam when it's like 99 cents. Like, okay. I'm rambling. Next thing. Alright, so the next show that we're going to be taking a look at is the Cooler Object Show, which released episode 5. As a reminder for what the Cooler Object Show is, it is a show created by Mark Bommy, or Objectsandloresforever. It is specifically the second season that was abandoned to then do the third season, the Coolest Object Show, and now both of those are going on at the same time, since the Cooler Object Show ended up coming back after a long hiatus. The last episode was episode 4. It was titled Explosive Balls. If I'm not mistaken, it was an episode where, we just put balls into a basket and some of them exploded, and some teams did well, and some teams did abysmal, and eventually the team of Among Us Block, Sans, Blue, and Bumpy ended up being up for elimination. I think, I predicted Among Us Block to get eliminated, because didn't Among Us Block, like, throw the challenge, right? Like, they did bad. Well, somebody did really bad, and I think it was Among Us Block, but, was it Blue? Oh, somebody did really bad. I don't know who did really, really bad. I'm trying to remember. Oh no, it's Blue. No, Blue did really bad. I predicted Blue. Okay, yeah. I was just checking. Let's go with the Cooler Object Show 5. Very super duper jolly. Alright, so I just finished watching the Cooler Object Show 5, very super duper jolly. So we had ourselves the elimination. Sans ends up getting an immunity ticket for having the least votes. Apparently, you have to use it within 2 challenges, otherwise it doesn't count. So, yeah, pretty much, it's kind of interesting. It basically, like, do you want to use it now, or do you want to use it tomorrow? And then it's like, there's not a very long window of time. Alright, at a certain point, you just gotta go for it, right? I don't know. Like, at a certain point, it just becomes like, I have to use it anyways, right? So, like, I'll not use it for one episode, I'll use it for another. So, like, it's a pretty no-brainer type ticket, but hey, if it works, it works. And then we have a 3-way tie for the most votes, with tied at 3. And then Ruby and Teardrop come in to save the day. Ruby drops in, however, doesn't actually speak. No, I mean, does speak, but in text box fashion. We don't actually get to hear Ruby speak. I would have just spoken as Ruby, It's because, okay, the thing about Ruby is that, okay, like, you're like, oh, how can I do a Ruby voice? You can do a Ruby voice, right? Because a Ruby voice is heavily pitched, right? Like, that's the thing about Ruby. If I'm not mistaken, Ruby's voice is pitched up by quite a bit. So, like, we end up having that type of situation. It's kind of like the puffball situation, right? And then they end up having kind of the type of voice where like if you just kind of take a regular sentence and then pitch it up, it should be relatively simple. I mean, I'm not 100% sure because of course I've not exactly tried it. However, in general, it shouldn't be too bad. I would have just done it, you know. It's for funsies. But either way, we end up understanding, and this goes with the audio of the episode in general. So last time we took a look at the Mark Balmy stuff, I did criticize quite a bit of the music because especially in the coolest object show, the music was a big source of complaint because I just couldn't understand the speaking. In an episode, in a video like this, we are completely absent of music, right? Which is it works. It does work. If I'm not mistaken, I think episode 4 did also have it. It does work. You know, like again, the most important part is the dialogue, and I do understand the dialogue, and it's all solid. I do not necessarily think that we need to cut out music completely. I think that it is best that having music is good. You just need to have quiet music, right? Like that's the thing. You just need to, whatever video editing program, you need to take the music, find any volume slider on it, and turn it down. Right? That's what we need. Like at the end of, I don't know, just because that's what I think should happen. But like having no audio at all, no music at all, does make it feel mildly more awkward of an experience to watch, and it makes pauses feel longer because there's no audio in between them. Again, it's fine for the situation. However, like it's okay. Anyways, we have already rambled on too much. Coal gets given to Blue, which loses the challenge. That makes sense. They were the worst performer. Their work there is done. The challenge is to pick out a gift. They don't get to see what's in the gift. They just have to pick it based on the color. Either way, even if they could look, it doesn't matter because none of the gifts actually have anything. We're pretty much just picking, yo, what color does the host like the best? And the host likes the Pew Pew Pew's team, which is the green and red one. Which makes sense because A has red and B is Christmas themed. You know, the other ones go up for elimination. I don't know what type of alphabet we're using here that goes A, B, E, F, G, H, C, D. However, hey, we got sure. Who gets out? It's really hard to say. This challenge is next to useless. Nobody actually gets to contribute to it. Majority of the characters don't show up, and it's actually a pretty bad challenge, which is unfortunate because I thought that the last challenge, I mean, it was mildly generic, but it had some potential. This challenge just isn't a challenge. It's just one person says a thing, and then there's no reason to go against them because they have no logic to pick their gifts on. So it's a pretty useless challenge, which is unfortunate, and I hope to see it improve. I don't know, again, the Pie Junior gets out just out of complete randomness. There's no logic I can place to this. That's all. Next. Alright, the next thing that we're going to be watching is survival, okay? So, TDOliver or Lavajuice, depending on what you ask, is the creator of a show called Tiny, which we took a look at twice before in the earlier episode of Object Catchup, like around that pre-episode 10 range. We took a look at episode 1 around that 15 to 20, I think we took a look at episode 2. They didn't release too many other episodes of it. I didn't really think of too much of them, but they released another episode. No, they didn't release another show. They started another show, which is called Survival. I must say, excellent thumbnail for this video. And it just, I don't know, was Survive the sketch. It kind of feels like that one animatic battle episode, but if it was an entire show. I guess we're going to have to find out. I see a claw saying 1. I don't know. I'm seeing ideas. Let's see what this is. Let's see if we got something special in our hands. Okay, well, this is interesting. So, that is Survival 1. So, I must say immediately from the get-go, this feels much more solid than TUOs here's previous works. Because I'm not gonna lie, right? At the end of the day, Tiny felt like a confusing object show that didn't really know what it was trying to do, and it didn't know how to do what it didn't know to do. Right? So it was just like double confused. This is different though. This is different. This, at least to an extent, feels like it is written in a logical fashion where characters interact, they have dialogue, you can see them, alright? And it feels like there is a story going on. Now, what is the story? It is an interesting question. So, once upon a time, Potion was running around at high speeds in the grass until they eventually got teleported to a white void alongside a couple of other people. A coconut who's 15 years old, which is this is information we needed to know. We also have a TV who's very loud, and apparently it's like the nerd character who references stuff. I don't even know who the other fella is. They have like 1 million arms. They're like a pudding. I don't know what they are. But then we end up having a crown as well, who's kind of like the diva fella. Very well voice acted character, by the way. But if it's even, is there even a voice actor? A couple of voices at speed, but I think it is a person. And then Sketch shows up. So Sketch, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know who Sketch is. So is Sketch a canon character to Animatic? Because I've heard of people say that Sketch is like the younger brother of Animatic, and it makes sense. It's like a smaller Animatic, but also like red eyes instead of blue. So I was like, oh, hold on, is Sketch like? But like I've seen it, but is that like an actual character? That's like, is that like part of the universe, like a full thing? Because I don't know. I just don't have that knowledge, right? So in this case, like, is Sketch like, is this a character? Like, are we taking somebody from something, or is this like, it's more of a concept than it is a character in a show, right? Like, that's kind of the question. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm just asking it out of like curiosity because I don't really know. But Sketch eventually just ends up murdering everybody, so everybody, is doing survival. However, the problem is that no, they all fail miserably. I mean, they don't fail miserably; they're just facing a horror beyond their comprehension. So they all just die, right? Like, they give it their best to go. They manage to do a piece of damage or two to the guy, but at the end of the day, it wasn't making it, right? So yeah. Eventually, potion got thrown away, and then eventually they come back and just say, "Oh." So they don't actually die, which is interesting. And then we end up seeing a backlog of a clock being like, yo, somebody disappeared. They're saying this to somebody. I don't know who they are. They say case closed as if they're saying it to a courtroom. What? But yeah, everybody else is interested. So, I mean, I'm interested. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't know if this is, of course, a derivative of another show. I don't know if Sketch is derivative of an actual character. But like, either way, I'm interested in the idea, the idea of like, yo, we're in a white void, for some reason we've been teleported, there's people in the outside world actually trying to figure out what the hell is going on to us, and we need to try to survive against the Sketch fella. The problem is that like, okay, it's a cool premise, but hold on, you need to try to survive against the Sketch fella. You already failed. Everyone died. Realistically, everyone died, and if everyone didn't die, they're going to die. So it's like, what is the idea? Because, like, okay, it's a survival. Okay, you're trying to survive, but no, you fail. End of show. Like, everyone died. Like, that's kind of interesting. We've set up an interesting world, but then we've actually kind of forgotten to set up a story. Because, like, hold on, what is going to happen? Right? Like, this feels more like a short film than it does an episode 1 of a series. That's the only thing that I think is unfortunate about it. Because, like, if it was, because it's really nice. It's much better than Tiny. But it's like, what is the progression? Because I'm really trying to figure out what happens from here. I don't think I revived, but why would they get revived? Why would Sketch revive? So they kill them again? Is that the idea? No, what? There's no way. That's the only way, though. There's no way, but that's the only way. It's like, yeah, I don't know. We just forgotten to set up a story. Like, a really interesting, solid characters, really interesting world. An interesting situation going on both inside and outside. It's just, what is the story? What is going to happen? What are we going to see? I don't know. But I mean, I guess hopefully we have a plan on that, because if not, I could see there's potential. I'm intrigued. I am #intrigued. Call me intrigued. I hope to see more of this. More of this, please. Alright, that's all for now. Next. Alright, let's talk about the next thing that we are going to be talking about, which is none other than the Boxing Day Object Show. The Boxing Day Object Show champions 2 months ago now. We actually took a look at the Boxing Day Object. One of those things that we took a look at quite a while back. It was created by Tiered, and we got to see the battle. What was it? To like retrieve a car or something? And everybody did that, and then we got to see a backstory on the evil guy who's not evil anymore. And then there was a cameo from like what was it on this video? I literally don't remember. There's a cameo from Cheesy who was just chilling there. There was a show within the show called Battle for Awesome City that was low-key kind of funny. There was a voting within the voting, and then we got to see like who was in the finale. Who was in the finale? Oh my god, how did I not remember? Wait, no. Wait, no, somebody won, right? But yeah, somebody won, and then eventually we ended up having that somebody rejoined at the last second because they made an object show episode, right? So we end up having the final two, which is the very tall rectangle and the square, right? Because the other fella got eliminated, circle got eliminated by try too hard. Okay, something along those lines. I'm super sorry for not remembering. It's been 2 months. Let's go watch the big old finale. Hopefully I remember then, because it's 17 minutes and very long. Let's go watch it. Alright, so that is episode 4 of Boxing Day Object Show Champions. So, we have ourselves a big boy finale with a lot of things going on. Just kind of like in the last episode, this felt like one of those episodes that just kind of spiraled, you know? It kind of felt like it was spiraling out of control after a little bit. It just felt like, okay, it had a basis of understanding, and then it slowly did a thing, and then it 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 did a thing, you know? Like, it just kept going. It's like, oh my god, what is happening? But we have ourselves the additional finale with, what song was it? Oh yeah, the Champions League theme, which I thought was very funny. There's actually a bunch of football references in here. We might, secret fan. Yeah, we end up having ourselves a challenge, which is not a combination of all the previous challenges, or it's a combination of sports themed challenges. You have to kick a football into a goal. Then you have to how do you gotta do? You gotta score a touchdown, land a hoop. Then you have to successfully do anything, swing at the ball in baseball. And then finally, you need to spike a volleyball and punch a punching dummy to complete our, like, the marathon of sports. Now, you'll notice, all of those things are relatively fast things to do, and there's not too much competition, you know? Like, you can't really get stuck in them as much as you can in something else. Because, like, how do you miss, like, the easy shot? There's no goalkeeper, right? How do you, like, in basketball, you know, the hard part of scoring a hoop is mainly scoring a hoop when somebody's there, right? You know, you're trying to fight off the opponent. But in these challenges, they're all pretty super easy because, like, yeah, scoring a touchdown is easy when there's nobody there, right? So, like, I mean, of course. Then we end up having the last one, which is the pitching. Oh yeah. So eventually the tall rectangle ends up managing to get swing immediately, and then actually the blue square never swings it, never manages to swing it. However, manages to somehow still get by. That okay, I did not understand that. I'm gonna be 100% honest. How? What? I'm still lost because it's like you swung, like, yeah, you definitely missed. You striked out because the card fella was complaining, like, ha, I got it, and you did it. And I was like, okay, sure, so you're just going to be stuck there, and then the other one's going to keep going. But that's not what's happening, because you just managed to get through anyways. And then they're both spiking the volleyball technically at the same time, because the volleyball, the tall rectangle spikes ends up landing on the freaking blue thing, right? So they end up going at the same time. Okay, cool. So they end up running at the same time, and then they finish. Who wins? I don't remember who wins. Nobody wins? Okay, I think the idea is that the tall rectangle won because they're happy. They have like a happy face or something. So I think that's the idea. I don't even know. Who won? Wait, who won? Do I know? Wait, am I supposed to know? No, yes, maybe. There's a non-0% chance I'm supposed to know, but I don't know. This maybe. So that's interesting. And then we have ourselves a review of the villain, which is the InShot watermark that has been here the whole time. That is so epic, villain. Oh my god. A rectangle gets very mad because the villain of their show is a stupid watermark. And they get super mad. And then they start chatting on about the other villains of the tiered universe. Because remember, okay, so I think, alright, we need to chat a little bit about tiered. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think the way that tiered tries to make shows is that we try to make them roughly within an interconnected universe. Like, they're like we're trying to make shows where like they work independently. However, they are also literally they exist within each other, and they also seem to have a creator also be a present within them, which is interesting. However, it doesn't make for a lot of lore shenanigans, right? And it seems like the type of show that Tier likes to make is this type of show where like it's very lore, right? Like, we're trying to tell a story where, like, a thing happens, you know, at the end of the day. Like, very rarely does it seem like we take it extremely safe out here. Even within a joke show capacity, it feels like we're still trying to deliver a plot line where things are happening, characters exist, and they do things, this and that, right? Like there feel like there is a plot line. And in this show as well, we end up getting it, of course, with the whole rectangle backstory that eventually gets brought up, right? The storyline. Like, we're trying to tell a storyline. Are we trying to tell good storyline? I mean, presumably we're trying to tell good storylines. Or the storylines that we're actually telling good? That is, I guess, debatable. I feel like with this, dude, what do I think? It was okay, but it did feel very convenientized. You know, it felt like convenientized to a point where it was kind of random. Right, like it didn't have much build up to it. That was kind of the thing about it, because it felt like, oh, super deep moment. But then the thing about this super deep moment is that we don't know about it until bro goes off for 6 minutes to explain it, right? So then it kind of ends up being a little bit of an issue. If it currently, yes, the villain is the InShot watermark. However, you just watch an ad and it goes away. So yeah, good job. They crash at 9:45 on December 26th, and apparently, basically, Rectangle was the GOAT of boxing, was the boxing GOAT, was the lightweight champion, which is interesting, because wasn't Evil Rectangle, like, weren't they supposed to retrieve, like, a heavyweight belt? Am I dumb? Is that not what they were doing? I feel like it's not what they were doing. I feel like I wouldn't remember a detail like that, but for some reason I was thinking as if that was a thing. I was like, yo, hold up, is that a thing? Is that a thing that's happening? It might be. There's a 0% chance that is a thing that is happening. And then we end up seeing, like, yo, I was the king of these streets and everything. And basically what happened was, I came in and I was like, I'm going to sign up for a race. And then I crashed at the side of Moon Hill, the street. Because because the roads don't exist in, like, we have roads as if there's a road. And I go, no, that's actually hilarious. It's not even a road. Moon Hill isn't even a road. We need to fix these navigation systems. Moon Hill isn't even a road. Where's the road? We're just driving on grass, on different patches of grass. 200 meters, you'll be at the next patch of grass. It's very different to the other one. Trust me on this one. But okay, then we end up having apparently 30 or 995. So, yeah, they ended up being, and then they thought they died, but then you were actually fine, except you lost both of your arms. And since you lost both of your arms, mysteriously, somehow, which I like how there just isn't much explanation for these things. We're just going like, oh yeah, you know, I crashed, but I was fine. I just didn't have arms anymore. No, were they in the car? What happened? What the fuck? Did they disappear? I mean, these are the types of questions that we gotta know. You know, like, what happened to the arms? Did they disappear? Did they go away? Like, what? Are they in the car? Like, did they literally disappear? Or did they get ripped off of you? Or did what happen? You know? And also, what? Is amputation not, like, you can't do that in the object world? Okay, fine. Then doing the whole shenanigan. I made the Boxing Day object show. So we end up having this show. And then now we had the remembering. And then Square also doesn't have arms anymore. But they're like, I'm going to make an action show with my legs because I can do that. And I mean, I guess you can. Then we get to see the prequel to the Awesome City object show. Because remember, last time what happened was we had like a 4-minute intermission to the actual object show, right? Because we were taking a look at the object show that Square made, which was titled Battle for Awesome City, and it had a lot of really stupid memes, and it was really dumb, but it was kind of funny. So we were like, alright, here's the prequel, the 2015 cool, alright, to Battle for Awesome City, where we get a couple of situations, and we get sent back to 2015, where you have a bunch of people like Mountain Dew, Doritos, who can spawn, who has a pet Doge, which they can just use. The Illuminati symbol appears every like 30 minutes. We have Dab and the Dab Police. Okay, we're getting kind of confused on the dates. This is in 2015 stuff. This is 2017 stuff. Like, the correct date for this would be more like 2018. Is that a combination? There's not actually an accurate timeline from when all of these things were relevant. Some of them were relevant like 2012 to 20... Hold on, wait. Some of them were relevant 2012 to 2013, and some of them were relevant 2017 to 2018. None of those are 2015. Like, nothing here is actually relevant in 2015, I think. I think 2015 is like the perfect middle between those. That guy and the Dap Police, because remember, the Dap Police was a thing that existed back in the day. Fidget Spinner and the Wow guy. Then we have No Skip, which I think, is that a character? I think that is a character. We have Mr. Beast 6000, which is old Mr. Beast. And then we have our host, MLG Glasses, who hosts the MLG show. We have an intro, which, you know what? Do you want me to say something? Why is this intro low-key better? Low-key better than the actual Champions intro. Low-key though. I'm not gonna lie with you here when I say this, that it's low-key kind of better though. I mean okay. And then we end up having ourselves, what is the challenge? The challenge is to run away with a Sonic, because of course it is. And then the Fidget Spinner and the other guy make it. Mr. Beast doesn't make it, and then and the Doritos make it, and then you get to vote on whoever else is. So yeah, we get to find out the Brain Rot in 2015, which is not 2015, but Brain Rot around that time frame was also pretty bad. Yeah, it's interesting, to be fair. I mean, like, it's a worthy discussion to have, because a lot of people from the generation ended up kind of thinking, yeah, like, memes and back in the day was so much better than today's brain rot. Right? When I say, well, okay, memes are kind of bad either way, right? I think the main thing that was going on is that I think, depending on the meme, a lot of them felt like they evolved more. Right, like, that was kind of the thing with memes back in the day. I feel like, in general, they kind of evolved a little bit more into, like, bigger versions, right? Because, like, for example, a thing like Fidget Spinners, sure, they were popular because there was a craze, and they were like a meme and a big fad, but at the end of the day, there was kind of more to them than just Fidget Spinners. Like, Fidget Spinners were interesting for multiple reasons, right? It's kind of those things, right? Again, there's a lot of exceptions, like, for example, something like the E-meme wasn't really that interesting, right? However, something like, even nowadays, however, stuff like, even like the 6-7 meme ends up kind of becoming a greater version of itself with all the variants that people make, because haha, yo, it's funny to make variants, right? So it is kind of an interesting discussion to have. It has literally nothing to do with the show. What am I on about? I don't know, but hey, it's an interesting situation. But eventually they end up going to Singapore. Yes, Singapore. You know what, this background is actually... Wait, hold on. Why is this background really good? Wait a minute. I'm just looking at it right now. I was not... Whoa. Yo? Fire background? Yo, what is that? Like a Singapore building? I don't know much about Singapore. In object shows. I'm not gonna lie. Yo, that's kind of crazy, though. That's like a big-ass line and like a three pillar super. That looks like a super waterfall. It looks like that Mario Galaxy stage. You know that Mario Galaxy stage where you wall jump on a bunch of ice things after freezing it? Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Yo, it's kind of sick. But then we end up having the fella, the Mr. Manly guy, be like, "Full man, giving it on a proper contest network. Let's go." And then apparently the rectangle goes like, "We're on a polyamorous relationship. Are you?" And the nicest way possible, I feel like you hated everyone's guts, and everybody hated each other's guts, and everybody like literally disliked each other. But okay, I mean, sure, anything to get him to go away. And then that's it. That is the Boxing Day Object Show. We have our outro with the song Eternal. Ha ha. And then we end up having the ending of the video on the Boxing Day Object Show. What do you think of the Boxing Day Object Show? I mean, like, it was okay. It was, dude, it was like, what's the best way to describe this show? It feels like it's mildly undecided about whether it wants to try to go towards, like, it's kind of undecided about which direction. It finds the crossroads of being like, okay, this is the sequel to the dumbest thing I made. So should I make it also really dumb, but then it doesn't really fulfill a lot of artistic integrity, or should I actually try to give a story? And then we have something that can maybe connect with recent work, right? Those are kind of the two questions, right? So this show ends up trying to do both, which is kind of the thing, because it ends up trying to do the story by going in one direction, and then it tries to go to the other direction, especially with stuff like Battle for Awesome City, right? And the memes, and they end up having a lot of screen time in those episodes, right? So in a way, it feels like it's trying too much, because the problem is that one takes away the pacing from the other. You know, like that's kind of the problem. Is that like you want to watch like if you enjoy one of the sessions, you'll be like, yo, this is funny, but then this section is good. And if you watch this section, it's like, yo, this section was pretty solid story, but then we got meme. Well, then we got 5 minutes of meme that ruined it, right? Like at the end of the day, because like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Right, in a sense, in this specific sense, I feel like you can't, because by putting both types of things in, you are kind of destroying the pacing. You know, where we end up having a 17-minute video, where like it really doesn't feel like a 17-minute video. You know, like it doesn't feel like a lot has happened for 17 minutes. I'm not gonna lie, which ends up being unfortunate. Then we get the whole backstory, but like even then, that takes like what, 4 minutes? Like it's not really that big of a deal, right? Like majority of it is just kind of meme, and then the challenge at the beginning where we don't even get to officially see who won. Like it literally, and it never gets stated who won the show. Like it never gets said by a person in the world, by a person in the world, in the game, in the video, who won the show. My presumption is by the fact that there was one section of animation right after the finish line race where the tall rectangle had a smile on their face that they won because of that. That's the only way I can really know, because other than that, I don't really know who won. Maybe I'm just being omega illiterate and I completely missed a giant text on the screen that said first place circle, whatever. It was first place square. Right, maybe I completely did, but if I did, then I didn't know about it. I need to be informed of these things. I need to know. So I will not take any responsibility. But yeah, that is what I've got to say about the Boxing Day Object Show. Will there be another season? I doubt it. I'm gonna be honest, it feels done in the way where it's like, okay, we've roughly done the concept of salvaging this really terrible thing I did. Like terrible in the sense that it wasn't very high quality, right? This low quality thing I did. Alright, we solved it, gave it a bit of lore, gave it simple, and then now we're all just chilling. Right, so that was kind of the idea. So I doubt that there's going to be another season of this, and there's probably other shows that Tier wants to work on instead. I specifically dodged taking a look at the Intro-ly Object Show, by the way, even though I should have technically taken a look at the Intro-ly Object Show by my rule set, because I've dodged it just simply because it's an Intro-ly Object Show, right? Like to understand the Intro-ly Object Show, you have to watch the original intros, at least to a certain degree, to not get spoiled on them. And I feel like in this case, I think that I would be so far out of the target audience because I've not seen a lot of those bigger object shows. Like at the end of the day, you know, at the beginning I say, oh, I've not watched a lot of object shows. Okay, to be fair, at this point I probably watched a shit ton of object shows. However, I've not still watched a lot of the big ones. I've not watched one yet, for crying out loud. For Christ's sake, bro. Like, you know, there's a certain point where it's like, alright, let's do this. So yeah, I might watch that at some point. I don't know. Wait, like, let me know. Let me know. Do you think that if anybody out here is watching this, okay, let me know. Is the Intro-ly Object Show watchable? And do you think it is still possible to watch it as a proper series without knowledge of the intros that it possesses within it? Okay, what do you think? What do you think? Let me know. Let me know. Should I do it? Because if you say yes, I might. I'll generally consider it, because I have no idea, because again I can't watch it beforehand. I just have to presume from the outside, because otherwise, you know, I'd just be watching it, right? So yeah, okay, that's all. Next. Alright, next up we shall chat about TUOS Horizon once more. Yes, once more. It just so happens that the release schedule of these videos has pretty much managed to be around perfect for the way that I have been covering videos, because they release weekly, which is roughly the amount of time that it takes me from going from one cat keeping up video to the next keeping up video, right? Like at a certain point during a week I'll probably cover it, right? Which means that by the next week there will be another video. So I just end up covering it week by week, episode by episode, which makes it really split. But hey, look, you gotta do what you gotta do. The last episode was Tower Trouble, which had a challenge that indeed involved you climbing books. If I'm not mistaken, Lamp won it pretty easily because they could fly alongside alongside Top Hat, which managed to yeet themselves up using a trampoline. In the meantime, we got to see a couple of the outside lore. The bug fellas are here for revenge, catching a bunch of tokens from orbs, and then we also have a couple of researchers trying to discover why orbs have been falling out of the sky. Let's see what's going to happen in episode 4, which is the longest episode yet. Final branches. Yo, okay, so I just watched episode 4, and there's one word that I can use to classify my opinion of this episode nearly perfectly. Relax! Oh my god. This episode feels like there was like an executive decision that no, we are going too slow. You're taking too long. And then we're again yeeting everything, going as quickly as possible. Why are we doing this? We get a freaking this episode is a triple elimination. 3 people get eliminated in the same episode. Bro, are you for real? Simply relax. We don't need to do all this. And between that, we're also speedrunning the lore as well. Okay, what are we doing? Alright, okay, hold on. What happens in this episode? So, we have a house where there's a different character they've never seen before. With, like, some perfume fella. The Pearl and the Nickel, which we still don't know what they are, but they're worried about Top Hat. They're doing that whole thing. And then also, Camellia is back. I don't know what that is. Is that like a chamomile? Is that like a flower? Is that the flower fella? I don't know. But, okay, they're doing that. Then they'll be like, is he okay? He's with a bug. Then, okay, we'll go find him. Alright. Then they go and they're doing the elimination. We end up wondering what the game token does. Apparently, you can play any game in the world, but you don't know what it does. Wait a minute. Do you or don't you know what it does? What? Hold on. Wait. What? Wait. It's not just an arcade. You can use it to play any game in the world, but I don't really know what it does. Oh! What does that mean? These episodes actually made me go insane. I'm sorry, that was so loud. Okay, so yeah, then we have our intro. That one's normal. Okay, so then we have ourselves a double elimination from the 6 votes. And from the 6 votes? Wait a minute. We got 6 votes, but this time, wait. Hold on a moment. We got 6 votes, and then we ended up having Teacup with 2 votes. Olive and Yen are eliminated with 3 votes each. Is that 8? Is that 8? Wait a minute. Is that 8? Wait a minute. Am I not mathing right now? Am I not doing mathematics? We got 6 votes this time. No, we didn't. 3, 3, 2. That's 8. Surely. Okay. That's suspicious. That's suspiciously wrong. Alright, okay, so they're both eliminated. Olive just leaves, Yen just leaves. So those who are eliminated. Challenge, which is Christmas themed, even though it's not Christmas, but okay, that's cute. Ends up being to get a Christmas tree in the landscape where there's no Christmas tree. Lamp still goes to search for literally any tree to treat it a Christmas tree. Top Hat can teleport. Is that a thing that we could always do? You know, I don't remember. And then Orb sees the bug again and questions what the... Obviously, they won't go see what's going on, because of course, when you see something suspicious, you must think that it was the wind. So they end up fetching a couple of Christmas tree. The Christmas tree land, and then they end up fetching a bunch of them, which is pretty interesting. For some reason, the one they grab are way smaller. But yeah, Lamp eventually loses the challenge because, of course, they cannot teleport to Christmas tree land, and that means that they're eliminated. So they're eliminated. Then we have to vote to win because the next episode is already the finale. Oh my god, we actually go by so fast in this episode. So we do that, and then we end up having the flower, which the top hat ends up recoiling from, which is interesting because of course that means that the flower fellow, or like chamomile, whatever they call it, they're like wait, is that a flower? Do I know? Do you think chamomile? Is that? This is a plant, right? Yeah, that's like a flower. I don't know if that's what it is. No, I don't think it is. Whatever. Gonna call it chamomile for now because I don't know what else to call it. So then they get a recoil from it as if it's like giving them bad memories, which is interesting because now that makes it think like it's not, we're not in the past, but we are in the past. But like we are okay. So what is going on in the lore? Hold on, no, give me a moment. I'm gonna try to lock this in. So this episode is an absolute mess. For some reason, the voting count is wrong. We're going way too fast. We skipped like 2 entire episodes that could have been used to expand on this lore that we were doing. We were slow burning the lore out here, and for some reason we speed run it. Instead of having 7 episodes, we're gonna have 5 now. Okay, sure. Why? I don't know, but okay. Because then it's like, okay, no, I don't get it. Okay, look, I understand. The other seasons had 5 episodes, but this season has lore. The other season don't have lore. This season has lore. You can more than make do with an additional 6 minutes of content. Those 6 minutes of content could go crazy. Could go hard, and then it's like, oh, but I won't have anything to fill out like episode 6 or something because then it's just a vote to win. No, you used to do last episode was nearly entirely lore and barely any challenge, which means that you clearly have thought out enough lore to where you can make something work. I'm not seeing division here at all. I don't know why this episode just feels bad because it's just such a speed run. It's like, it's like, imagine like you're driving along the road at like in first gear because you don't need to go that fast, and then a professional racer comes in and hijacks the car and it goes at full throttle gear 400 miles per hour. It's like, what are we doing? Hold on. Hold on a moment. Triple elimination, and we got like 4 lore dumps at the same time. Like, dude, please. Oh my god. What I think is going on in the lore, okay, is that Top Hat for some reason disappears to go over to the thing, to the show, okay, and then they think that, wait, but no, that doesn't make sense. No, does it? Okay, so they don't know where Top Hat is. Top Hat is competing in the show, okay, that's interesting. However, the other fellas, the bug fellas, are trying to take over along with the chamomile. Presumably because Top Hat is there? No, but the bug wants revenge and the chamomile wants Top Hat. So presumably that's what's going on within their age. For a moment, I thought that the takeover was nearly in the past because I was like, oh, Top Hat remembers it badly. But no, presumably chamomile just wants to re-encounter Top Hat for whatever reason, right? Because they are villainous to Top Hat, right? Okay, sure. But then it's like, what? There's like I don't know what the reasoning is, I don't know what they are. And you know what, for all of this lore that we're speedrunning from, we don't even get to see from the researchers again. So I guess we didn't speedrun enough. Go speedrun more. Like, oh my god. Like, I don't know. I don't know. This episode, it was, no, I didn't approve of it. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I like to be positive when I can, and I mean, at the end of the day, the classic things of the season, of course, they all remain true. Voice acting is pretty solid for being one person. At the end of the day, the story, I am intrigued in it. I just think that we're going too fast. Those additional 2 episodes could have really helped setting it in, and at the end of the day, it's the final season. You can afford 2 episodes. You're gonna be done after this. Isn't season 4 the last one? Like, it's GG. You could have afforded to do it, but now it's too late. Now it's too late. Oh well. I mean, see you in the finale, I guess. Next. Alright, the final thing that is going to close off our lineup here of shows to keep up with that released episodes by the time I started recording this morning. Something released in the middle of the day, I'm not covering it, okay? Because I have a plan. And then we, the last thing we're taking a look at is Object Goof. Object Goof released episode 6. Last time we covered Object Goof, I think was, the other episode. Was like the other keep up episode where basically we ended up having ourselves the debut of about 1 million people that could have debuted. Do I remember who I liked? I thought the drunk fella was really interesting, I think. There was somebody else I actually really liked, but I don't currently remember. But we'll have to find out, I guess, who is going to debut in the longest episode of Object Goof yet, like a rotted core. Go. Alright, that is Object Goof 6, like a rotted core. And you know what? I actually really like where this show is going. I gotta be honest. The thing about it is that, like, this show has had a very nice progression to it, I must say. The way that this show has kind of evolved, it plays itself super fast at the start. Kind of like super fast. However, even at the start, I was kind of feeling it, because I started seeing, like, the vibe, Like, the way that this show did its own fundamentals of having no music, but they're also in a void, but then there's also this type of crazy host, but he's not a crazy host in a loud way, he's a quiet crazy host, right? And then the characters, and then the challenges end up being illogical, so the characters don't really know what they're doing, and only like 2 of them speak, right? Like, you could kind of understand, and then they get brought to this void, and we get hear sentences, and anytime music is used, is this type of kind of atmospheric thing, and then it's like, yo, what is happening? So it managed to set the mood in a really interesting way. So I think the fact that this show is actually trying now, a little bit in the last episode, and a lot more in this one, to have interactions, because that was like the main thing that was missing in the last episode, not in the last episode, in just like in general in the series, right? Like, at the end of the day, we didn't really get to see many interactions between characters, right? We kind of got to see them do a challenge very quickly because there wasn't too much time, right? We only got like again, the episodes were 1 minute and the intro was 30 seconds, right? Like, there really wasn't a lot of time to work with here, right? Which means that we end up kind of having everything else be a situation. But that's better, which is great. So we end up having ourselves a debut vote after, well, actually, first we try to figure out how to revive Lampy, because Lampy was allergic to apples. Remember, there's the whole a shebang with that. But then we end up having that the rejoiner contestant is none other than Blossom, the kind of weird algebraian character that I think was near the end of the list the other time, which could be a reason. I mean, they're interesting. I don't know if they're 40 votes interesting. Again, I think it's one of those pulling power people, right? It's simply, at the end of the day, this show doesn't get that many votes very often, so that means that in this debut situation, whoever has the pulling power to get people, friends, whatever, to actually vote on their character can get quite in, and also, some rando support helps as well. So good job, Blossom, the algebraian, for joining. Then we end up having a random poll for the favorite character, which apparently is Lampy for specifically that episode, so good job. They end up getting revived, and then Lampy's like, I will make sure you get eliminated. But then the challenge is pick up an apple. Uh-oh. Not very convenient timing there. I must admit, that was quite unfortunate. And then we get to have a big aura farming moment here from Key being like, try me. And that means that everybody else is up for elimination. It's interesting because, of course, Lampy was the favorite and does have a legitimate reason to be upset. However, they were mean, quote unquote. So, I don't know. I personally would eliminate Dime. They don't have a very interesting design. And they were the one who was supposed to try to revive Lampy, but as soon as they get interrupted one time by the human host that's very commonly known to one time to interrupt. They do not try. They immediately give up on their task. They forget about their task. They're like, oh, yo, is that what you're going to say? We're like, no, please, this is important. We have a dead contestant. Go revive the dead contestant. But nope, okay, nope, never mind. We keeping it chill. So I'm going to eliminate Dime personally. I think Brick probably did the least in the episode, but I would eliminate Dime. So I'm going to say Dime. I don't care if it's not going to be that one, obviously. No, Dime. Dime is getting eliminated. Grr. Apparently, there's still time to vote, which is interesting considering the episode released 19 hours ago. Oh no, never mind. That actually makes sense. I forgot. This is not one of the ones that were released 3 days ago. That's actually released today. But yeah, I really like where the show's going. I think that this actually seeing interactions is cool between characters. I think that the vibe of the show works pretty interesting enough with actual interactions and actual things happening. So yeah, I mean, I hope to see it evolve further and further from its current state into future states. You know, it's all of that cool stuff. All right, that's all. We can head ourselves into the outro. Alright, and with that is going to close off today's installment of Object Catchup. Partial comeback before a New Year's earns a never little break. However, we will, in fact, be closing it off here. You know what? It actually ended up longer than I expected. There was more to keep up with than I expect. Every time, there always is. I don't know why I'm so bad at miscounting it. But, overall, yeah, I'm satisfied. I did exactly what I was, planning to do going into today. And I did it. I took a look at all of it, right? And then, yeah, my plan is to probably try to cover ourselves requests heading into the next few days, right? Make that the primary focus, because we're behind in those, and there's still a couple of requests that are actually quite large that we need to take a look at. I'm not going to say what exactly is incoming because I don't know yet 100%, but basically I'll probably focus in on trying to get requests done. Of course, if anything major releases, however, that will take priority from then on, but like, with the presumption that nothing major releases until then, we can, I will try to focus my best on getting those requests from a couple weeks ago out of the way. However, for today, we need to keep up because, of course, we were behind. Because, of course, when you take a break, you end up behind. It's just part of the course, right? It's just part of the course when you're taking a look at so many things. At the end of the day, everything stuff releases every single day. I'm behind right now. You know, I'm always behind, and it's always a catch up. Got him. All right, that is all for the shows that we looked at today. We are basically all caught up. There's one or two that we're not, but yeah, we're all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye. And let me know if the mic's good. Was the mic good? Please, did you enjoy? Microphone, let me know your opinion. I beg of you. Okay, that's all. Bye.